Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 6th of February, now it's 15 to 10 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. According to reports from Russian media, Russian military channels, with the exception of few directions, there was no crucial changes on any of the sectors of the front line. And when it comes to exceptions, of course, I'm talking about Donetsk sector of the front line and Avdeevka direction first of all. According to latest reports, Russian armed forces continuing to increase pressure on Avdeevka garrison of Ukrainian military. At this point, Russian armed forces conducting offensive operations in direction of northern industrial zone where chemical plant is located. Russian forces are conducting operations in the residential area from the northern sector, from the northern flank. Russian forces conducting offensive operations in the residential area in the central areas of Avdeevka, and are about 800 meters from cutting this main road for supply and support of Ukrainian garrison in the southern eastern part of Avdeevka. And same time, Russian forces increasing pressure and conducting offensive operations, local scale, of course, offensive operations from eastern and southern flanks also, and clashes are taking place inside the residential areas. Situation for Ukrainian garrison is becoming more and more desperate. Every single hour, we are not even talking about days at this point, every single hour may become crucial when Ukrainian defense lines will begin to collapse entirely in the city or in separate districts. And therefore, I guess it is the time for Kyiv regime to make up its minds and make final decision. Are they sacrificing Avdeevka garrison like they did sacrifice garrison in Bakhmut, or they will order Ukrainian units to withdraw from this city while they can, to do it relevantly, safely? Relevantly, by the way, because all the roads are under fire, under constant Russian fire, of course. Let's see what kind of decision will be made by Kyiv regime. Most likely, Zelensky and his close associates will demand from general staff to continue battles in Avdeevka, and they will probably prohibit any withdrawal of forces, while we already know position of Zaluzhny, head of general staff of Ukraine, and his inner circle. Several weeks ago, I already reported that Zaluzhny basically openly said that with Avdeevka will happen exactly the same that happened with Bakhmut. It's only a matter of time, and he is already for withdrawal of forces from this city, but has no permission from political leadership of these failed states. I think Ukrainian units will not receive order to withdraw, and therefore most likely garrison of Bakhmut will be divided in 2 or 3 separate groups, and then will be neutralized one by one. I expect a huge number of POWs, Ukrainian POWs, in this area. Probably entire battalions will lay down arms and surrender once they will realize that Kyiv regime is sacrificing them. But yet again, let's see how the situation develop. This is a main hotspot, of course, on the battlefield, and according to reports from Russian military channels, active Russian armed forces are conducting active local scale operations, significant local scale offensive operations in Grigorievka, Bogdanovka, and Ivanovska directions, which is Bakhmut area. And on one of the military channels, I even did so report that one of the Russian recon and sabotage group entered Chisov Yar itself, outskirts of Chisov Yar, and conducted some operation there. without photo or video confirmation is difficult to say, of course, but because we are talking about distances like 5-10 kilometers from Chisovyar to forward Russian positions, it definitely cannot be ruled out that Russian reconnaissance force operations already are taking place, not just in Ivanovskaya direction, for example, or Grigorievka direction, but inside the Chisovyar itself. But for now, we don't have any information about some breakthroughs in this area. But pressure definitely is increasing on Ukrainian units, and of course, one of the hotspots on the map is Tarskoye direction, Tarskoye, Yampolovka, Terny on the left bank of the Zhiribets River. And in this case, I guess also decision have to be made by Kiev. Are they sacrificing Ukrainian units that are now located on the left bank, or will they allow them to withdraw from Yampolovka and Terny, for example, regroup towards right bank of the Dnieper River and try to establish some new defense lines there if possible? I guess in this case also Kiev regime will sacrifice Ukrainian soldiers. And well, when it comes to Kupiansk direction, clashes between the sides are also quite intense. If you remember, about months ago, every single day in reports of Russian Defense Ministry, we could see that casualty numbers on Kupiansk direction was 30, 40, 50 military personnel. And Kupiansk sector was one of the quietest sectors, if I can use this word, on the front line, with Zaporozhye sector, together with Zaporozhye sector of the front. But for the last 2-3 weeks, situation did change quite significantly, and Kupiansk direction is become quite active. And on daily basis, Ukrainian armed forces losing 100 to 150 military personnel on Kupiansk sector of the front line, and about 200 to 250 military personnel on Krasny Liman sector of the front line. Although, of course, most casualties Ukrainian armed forces have on Donetsk sector of the front. When it comes to South Donetsk sector, no crucial changes, not that many information about any changes on the line of contact at all. Russian side is increasing pressure, increasing artillery strikes, drone strikes, missile strikes, and main hotspots are, of course, Vremyovsky salient, area between Vremyovsky salient and Uglidar. Uglidar itself, yesterday I did share videos on my Telegram with the severe strikes, air strikes and artillery strikes on Uglidar, and of course Novomykhailovka and these fields in between Uglidar and Novomykhailovka also are area where clashes are taking place between the sides. Zaporozhye sector is the most, and Kherson direction, by the way, is most quiet sectors right now on the front line, according to Russian Defense Ministry's report. Yesterday's report on progress of special military operation. On Kherson direction, Ukrainian armed forces lost about 30 military personnel, and on Zaporozhye sector of the front line, Ukrainian armed forces lost about 40 military personnel. So sides mainly are using artillery and drones to conduct strikes on each other's positions. No more or less significant ground operations, offensive operations are taking place. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. The main hotspot is, of course, Avdeevka, and well, everybody is awaiting how will things develop in Avdeevka direction, how long Ukrainian garrison in that city will be able to hold on. Well, let's see, time will tell. And of course, if you are interested in more detailed information about these local scale skirmishes, there are plenty of military channels, and they are providing quite a volume of detailed information about these skirmishes. I recommend those channels. Some of them you can see in recommendation list under this video in the description box. I will continue with some other news, if I may, although before I do so, let me remind you that this small media project with several channels and several programs exists solely thanks to support of members of our community, and I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support this project and my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, on which I do upload extra content on regular basis. Second updates, daily second updates from Monday to Friday are uploaded on Patreon, and some other extra content also, not necessarily about politics, but just about life in Russia. I'm trying as much as I can to make a Patreon page interesting for supporters. And you can see links under this video in description box or in the pinned comment. That's been said, let's continue with some additional news. And RIA Novosti's report, which is based on statements of Russian Defense Ministry, that during the nighttime and early hours of this morning, Russian air defense systems shut down 7 Ukrainian drones over the Belgorod region. No reports about casualties on the ground or more or less significant damage. Also, TASS news agencies report that Zaluzhny agrees to be Ukraine's ambassador to United Kingdom, according to statements from Ukrainian lawmaker Yevgeny Shevchenko. Let's go through several sentences here. I reported about this news yesterday in my second update, if I'm not mistaken, and I did spoke about this topic during the live stream on my Rumble channel, also in Telegram reports program. I have my understanding of their situation, but well, anyway, let's and I think it is possible that Zaluzhny will leave general staff and may be appointed into United Kingdom as an ambassador. After all, this way for UK's secret services will be much easier to protect Zaluzhny for any possible attacks, first of all from Zelensky's camp, and maybe this initiative to send Zaluzhny as ambassador to UK belongs to London itself, not Zelensky. Well, to say in short, my understanding of the situation is that there is 2 possible scenarios, and one of them, for example, this one, when Zelensky is ordered by London and Washington to remove Zaluzhny from general staff, then send him in London, for example, because, as I said, it will be much easier for UK secret services to protect him that way. Simultaneously, by the way, if Zaluzhny will be removed from office, of course, he will avoid heat for failures of Ukrainian forces on the front line, and public support or army support for Zaluzhny will be on more or less same level as it is right now, while Zelensky will receive hit directly, of course. But, well, London don't really cares about Zelensky no more, or Washington. He's used cannon at this point. But, well, once Zaluzhny is in London, let's say, or in a safe place, it's not going to be necessarily London, but in some safe place, then London and Washington may make sure, by using their assets in Ukraine, that Zelensky would not be able to prolong martial law indefinitely. They may allow Zelensky to prolong martial law towards end of March, but no more than that. And every time this martial law can be prolonged only for 3 months. And if Zelensky prolongs martial law towards end of the March, he already applied for this to Ukraine State Rada, which is Parliament of Ukraine. Most likely he would not be able to do so again after 3 months, and therefore automatically presidential elections have to take place in Ukraine, and for that point Zaluzhny most likely will go back to Ukraine to participate in presidential elections and to replace Zelensky in office. It does make sense. This scenario is possible, realistic in my opinion. It might happen. Although, of course, there is also a second scenario that cannot be ruled out, that Zelensky may act independently, remove Zaluzhny, because he sees him as a threat for his power. Zaluzhny may disobey orders and just conduct military coup, remove Zelensky, and then after that conduct presidential elections, participate and become a president of Ukraine this way. And London and Washington may support Zaluzhny in both scenarios, in both cases. Because as I said, Zelensky is a used cannon. And when it comes to this information itself, Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Valery Zaluzhny has reportedly agreed to be Ukraine's ambassador to the United Kingdom and will leave Ukraine within a day. Ukrainian lawmaker Yevgeny Shevchenko stated, and then quote, "I would like to say that according to my sources, Zaluzhny has agreed to be the ambassador to the Great Britain. He is highly likely to go there, and we know that those who leave the country as ambassadors are political retirees. None of them has ever returned to their former positions. This is Ukraine's tradition," says this lawmaker, although in Zaluzhny's case, situation will be very different, because according to some reports that I see, right now Zaluzhny probably is the most popular possible candidate for presidency in Ukraine. He has most support of army and public, when Zelensky's support is declining, and at this point probably no one really knows what percentage of Ukrainian public is supporting Zelensky. 10, 15, 20, 50, no one knows probably for sure. Let's continue with the additional news. And TASS news agencies report that General Secretary of the UN surprisingly condemned strike of Ukrainian armed forces, recent strike of Ukrainian armed forces on Lysychansk on a bakery with a HIMARS multi-launch rocket system. And I'm saying surprisingly because, if I'm not mistaken, this is first time when head of UN condemned war crime committed by Kyiv regime. I may be mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember any other instance when he condemned actions of criminal actions of Kyiv regime. Well, if he will continue this way, he will definitely lose his job, because I don't think Washington or Western ruling class will be happy with such statements of head of general secretary of UN. But well, surprisingly, maybe after all he has something is left in this person from dignity, and well, he find himself in a situation when he had to condemn actions of Kyiv regime. I remind you, dear friends, that a few days ago Kyiv regime conducted strike on Lysychansk, on a bakery, on Saturday, by the way, on previous Saturday, and 28 people were killed, dozens of people wounded, and children among them, children, women, elderly. It's a war crime. There's no way around it. It's a war crime. They knew, and the HIMARS missile system was used, which is precise guided missile. So they knew that they were targeting bakery. That was intentional killing of civilians. Not mistake on part of Kyiv regime, but intentional targeting of civilians, like they did many times in Donetsk, like they did in Belgorod on New Year's Eve. This is unfortunate reality on the ground, and we can clearly see the shift of actions of Ukrainian armed forces and Ukraine's secret services from military operations to direct targeting of civilians. It's just too obvious at this point. And while General Secretary of the UN find the courage in himself to condemn criminal actions of Kyiv regime, well, official representative of US State Department, Vedant Patel, is basically denying that that war crime targeting of bakery in Lysychansk even take place. And he was asked about this on recent press conference, and well, let's read several sentences here. United States cannot verify reports about Ukraine's shelling attacks on the Lysychansk, killing dozens of civilians. Principal Deputy Spokesperson for the US Department of State, Vedant Patel, said, and then quote, I've seen those reports, but again, given the track record that Russia has, we have no way of independently verifying that that information. He said, adding that Washington considers Moscow's report on this matter unreliable. This despicable human being, this Vedant Patel, I mean, how are you gonna comment this, man? What track record you are talking about, fucking animal? You are representing State Department of US, idiot. Гребаный ублюдок, блин, huh? And this type of animals, man, are representing US on the world stage. He is the official representative of State Department, and he is saying that US is not acknowledging what entire world seeing. Unbelievable, man, unbelievable. It's hard to comment on statements of this, whatever they are, man. TASS News Agency's report here that Tbilisi, capital of Georgia, awaits information from Kiev on attempted smuggling of explosives to Russia. Yesterday I did reported that that from Ukraine a car was sent to Georgia first, to then enter Russia, and this car went from Ukraine, from Odessa to Romania, then Bulgaria, then Turkey, and then Georgia, all around the Black Sea. And from Georgia, that car supposed to not necessarily that car, but explosives that was in that car supposed to be smuggled into Russia, into Voronezh city, to conduct terrorist activity there. And Russian Georgian Secret Services well, neutralized this group and their attempt to enter Russia and conduct these terrorist attacks. And Georgian Secret Services stated who is behind this conspiracy, how many people were participating in it. Already made Georgian Secret Services made statements that 14 kilograms of weapon grade plastic explosive C4 was detained by Georgian security services. 14 kilograms of C4, man. Can you imagine destruction that can be caused by this amount of this military grade explosives? And well, Georgian Secret Services also stated the person that is behind this conspiracy. And of course, because we are talking about military grade explosives, it's undoubted that Ukraine's military intelligence or SBU is behind this terrorist activity. It's just undoubtedly. We cannot doubt this, because you cannot buy C4 in the market, for God's sake. It's not a, I don't know, man. It's not potato. And it's obvious that Tbilisi now awaits explanations from Kiev regime, and I guess not just Tbilisi should be asking questions, but government of Romania also, government of Bulgaria also, and government of Turkey, because this car with these explosives was was traveling through Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey before it reached Georgia. So basically, Ukraine secret services in danger by, with this operation, citizens of all these four countries, Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, Georgia, isn't it? While planning to conduct terrorist attacks in Russia. But yet again, I mean, what do you expect from those criminals, man, that are in charge of modern Ukraine and Ukraine state institutions? I'm quite sure Romania will say nothing, Bulgaria will say nothing. Those countries run by puppets of Washington. What they gonna say, man? But Turkey is a little bit different story, and Turkish secret services may even retaliate for this, because for them it's a matter of honor. It's it's a big failure on part of Turkey. That car with 14 kilo of C4 was traveling through entire country like it's nothing. It's a failure on part of Turkish secret services, so they may even try to retaliate for this embarrassment. And Ankara, by the way, Turkish government may also make some strong statements. Even today we may hear something from Ankara. Let's see. But when it comes to Georgia, let's read several news here. So Georgia's State Security Service has presented information concerning an attempt to smuggle explosives from Ukraine to Russia via Georgia, and is now waiting for a response on this matter from the Ukrainian authorities. Bacham Geladze, the director of the Security Service Counterterrorism Center, has stated, then quote, we have provided the Ukrainian side with the information in connection with this specific incident. We have provided them with even more details, and we expect them to share relevant information that will benefit the investigation and confirm certain details, Geladze said in an interview with the Georgian TV channel Rustavi 2. The State Security Service said earlier that the Georgian authorities had detained a cargo containing explosives that was transiting to the country from Odessa to Voronezh via Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey. The explosive devices contained 14 kilograms of weapons-grade plastic explosive C4. They can be set off with a electric fuse and a special timer. So it was not just C4 explosives, by the way. Those terrorists also had timers and electric fuses. The security service specified that 7 citizens of Georgia, 3 citizens of Ukraine, and 2 citizens of Armenia were involved in bringing the explosives into Georgia, while the transportation of explosives was organized by citizens of Ukraine, candidate for a seat of the regional legislator of the Odessa region from the ruling party, Servant of the People, in 2020, Andrei Sharashidze. So, well, you tell me if you have any doubts that this was behind this operation was Ukraine's military intelligence or SBU. I mean, it's definitely them. And well, what Kyiv gonna answer to Tbilisi's demands? What they can say? I mean, they can blame Russia, by the way. But to be serious, I mean, what Kyiv regime gonna answer? They will try to distance themselves and say that this citizen of Ukraine and member of ruling party, Andrei Sharashidze, was acting independently. But yet again, who gonna believe this, man? Who gonna believe this? And I'm quite sure Turkey will also demand some answers from Kyiv, but this is definitely one more step towards deterioration of the relationships between Ukraine and Georgia, because just imagine what will happen if those terrorists manage to smuggle these explosives into Russia and then detonate and conduct terrorist attacks. Of course, Russian investigation will, in fairly short time, designate country from which these terrorists or explosives were smuggled to Russia. And of course, while it will become clear after some time that Georgia also was used as a transit country, Of course, such a development will have some impact, negative impact on relationships between Moscow and Tbilisi, and therefore I see this operation of Ukraine's secret services as not just attempted smuggling of explosives to conduct terrorist attacks in Russia, but also as an attempt to derail current more or less working relationships between Moscow and Tbilisi. It's definitely act against Russia and step against Russia and step against Georgia, 100%. TASS news agencies report that Moldovan Defense Ministry refutes claims that Ukraine's F16s will be stationed in Moldova. Recently, Romania's defense ministry was forced basically to respond on some rumors that were circulating on the internet that F16s from Romania, F16s take off from Romania and conducted some military operations in Ukraine against Russian forces. Rumors were so severe that even defense ministry was basically forced to come out and make statements that this is all nonsense and Romania is not involved in any conflict with Russia, and Romanian Air Force or Romanian airfields not be used against Russia. And now rumors are circulating about Moldova, that Moldova will provide airfield for Kiev regime so that Ukrainian Air Force can use Moldovan territory and airfield to airspace to conduct military operations against Russia. And well, Moldova's authorities have refuted media allegations that future shipments of F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine will be stationed at the Mekulesti airfield of the Moldovan army near the city of Balti. Moldova's Noi News portal reported, citing the Republic's defense ministry. And well, although anything is possible, especially in situation when those countries, by the way, Moldova, Romania, Bulgaria, for example, are run by puppets of Washington and acting under orders of Western ruling class. Well, still, I find it difficult to believe that this Maia Sandu, president of Moldova, for example, is that stupid, or militaries of Moldova are that stupid that they will agree to provide airfield for Ukraine, so that they can operate against Russia from that airfield. This is not happening because in that case, Moldova will become part of conflict, will become side in this conflict, and Russian forces will have every legitimate right to conduct retaliatory strikes. And well, maybe Sandu, president of Moldova, don't really understand these possible repercussions of Moldova's involvement, but Moldova's militaries, I mean, at least some of them definitely will have enough knowledge to make sure that Moldova will stay out of this Ukrainian crisis and as far away as possible. Anyway, let's continue. TASS news agencies report here that EU and the World Bank signed agreement on 500 million euro worth of investments for Ukraine. Okay, another 500 million euro will go to pockets of corrupt Ukrainian officials and European officials. Well, they will use anything and everything, by the way, they can to enrich themselves by using this topic of Ukraine. And well, so-called international financial institutions like World Bank are no exception. They are using World Bank, they are using International Monetary Fund, they are using entire states, by the way, EU member states, to basically formally allocate money for Kiev regime, but in reality, 70, 80, or maybe even 90% of those allocated billions, dozens of billions, finding their way to pockets of military industrial complex and corrupt officials. That's how it is. Let's continue. And TASS news agency is reporting that, well, according to UK's defense secretary, strikes on Yemen failed to stop Houthi attacks on the ships in the Red Sea, which is correct. The strikes on the that US and UK have been carrying out against the Houthi facilities in Yemen have to this point failed to fully prevent new attacks on the ships in the Red Sea. British Secretary of State for Defense Grant Shapps has acknowledged, and well, in this case he is correct, because we have information here that Ansar Allah movement, or more known as a Houthi rebels, conducted yet another strike on commercial ship 57 miles away from in the westwards from the Hodeida port city. And according to this report, a ship that was targeted received minor damage. No crew members were harmed as a result of these strikes. But well, this information definitely confirms that that these strikes of US and UK did not really achieve much, and Houthi rebels are continuing to strike on the ships that they think are connected with Israel, with the US or UK. It's just factual. TASS news agencies report that Biden may veto a draft law about financial support for Israel if funds would not be allocated for Ukraine also. And I remind you, dear friends, that a few days ago, US Congress Republicans made a statement that they will vote for a draft law that will provide Israel with some 17 billion US dollars, but this package will not include any funds for Kyiv regime. And that's exactly the draft bill that Biden was talking about. He is willing to veto that bill if Republicans will not vote for additional aid package for Ukraine. Well, I mean, this saga is also continuing for so long now that probably everybody is tired to hear anymore about this Biden's initiative to transfer 60 billion for Ukraine, some 14 or 17 for Israel, some additional billions for Taiwan, and also for border security. But well, trade continues. Trade between Democrats and Republicans continues, and at some point they will probably reach some agreement. RIA Novosti's report here that Rishi Sunak, Prime Minister of UK, called United Kingdom second country in the NATO by spendings on the defense and the military. And well, he may be correct. UK may spend on defense more than any other NATO member state, with the exception of United States. But this is whatever United Kingdom spends. This is definitely not enough, because according to even UK's government departments, UK's militaries are not in a best shape, and they are not really ready to participate in a long, high intensity conflict. And UK's navy is in not really good shape, and almost on daily basis or weekly basis we are receiving some informations about breakdowns in UK's warships. Even flagman of UK's navy, even flagship HMS Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier is not able to participate in NATO exercises. So Sunak may be correct when he says that UK spends more than any other NATO member state on defense, with exception of US, but it's clearly not enough, isn't it? UK lacks manpower, according to reports, and funding. After all, yesterday I did report that these Type 45 destroyers of United Kingdom, instead of missile salvos, ground attack missile salvos, have a gym in specific area that, according to that project, should be used for missile salvos, and those ships lack those missiles because lack of funding. So I don't know what I don't understand what Sunak was trying to say here. What is the point in such a statement when whatever funds are allocated for defense are not enough, highly insufficient. But anyway, let's continue. TASS news agencies report that Kazakhstani government, by the way, resigned yesterday, and the president of Kazakhstan, Zhomart Tokayev, accepted resignation, and well, it will, I guess, not take long before a new government will be, new prime minister, and the new government will be appointed and formed. Although development itself is quite interesting, because this is a relatively new government anyway. And what happened? Why entire government had to resign? And does this development has something to do with not really with some games that let's say with some games that Astana is playing with the Western ruling class, or with the relationships between Astana and Moscow and Astana and Beijing? Probably something is going on here, and I guess we will learn what exactly in upcoming months. And I remind you, dear friend, that Kazakhstan is extremely important country in Central Asia. First of all, it's oil-rich country. It's biggest country in the Central Asia, and second biggest country by territory from former Soviet republics. Kazakhstan is bigger than Ukraine, by the way, by territory. I mean, we can do some comparison here. So just look at this. This is Kazakhstan here, and this is Ukraine. Kazakhstan is bigger than Ukraine, and Kazakhstan is bordering China. This is also important stuff. So, well, let's see. In upcoming months, we will probably learn some more. But Kazakhstan is definitely a very important country, and whenever something is happening in this republic, it may have some influence, not just in the region, but even in a global scale. TASS news agencies report that Elon Musk condemns idea of banning Tucker Carlson from coming back to US if he interviews Putin. Well, this is total insanity what is happening in the West, especially in the US. Complete meltdown, mental breakdown on part of neolibs and all that army of extreme Russophobes. And well, let's read several sentences here. A U.S. entrepreneur and one of the world's richest men, Elon Musk, has criticized the idea of banning American journalist Tucker Carlson from returning to the United States if he interviews Russian President Vladimir Putin. As the US media assumes, agreed, Musk wrote in response to a post on the X, formerly Twitter, from US journalist Brian Krasenstein, who said that the idea of banning Carlson from the coming back to the US contradicts the principles of journalism and information freedom. They later noted that the American press has shied away from interviewing anyone due to their political views. to the people calling for Tucker Carlson to be banned from the entering into United States if he interviews Vladimir Putin. If you are about freedom, you would not be calling for Tucker Carlson to never be allowed back to United States. Krasenstein wrote, and by the way, what I find fascinating is that this extremely simple stuff that you cannot ban journalists from returning to its own country just because he interviews someone. I mean, it's nonsense, total nonsense. For very strange reasons, is disputable or controversial statement in the US. I mean, I don't know in which direction US is heading, by the way, under leadership of these neolips and whoever they are, but that place is very dark, man. I can tell you that, because people that are constantly talking about democracy, human rights, freedom of speech, and so on, are supporting and airing such crazy statements as to ban Tucker Carlson to return to US. I did see plenty of statements on that matter. Some are demanding his passport to be cancelled. Some are demanding some other crazy stuff, which is, I mean, really nonsense, man. What is going on in the US? I don't know. This is crazy. This is crazy. And the rest of the world is watching, by the way. And trust me, many people who pays attention to these developments, I mean, in media, for example, or on global stage, many people probably are shocked to see level of degradation of political culture in the US. Many are probably highly disappointed to see this, and many are surprised, because I mean, it's really shocking to see what is going on in the US, man. It's you know. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Russia's Google completes 5 billion divorce. Few news about some economical stuff. So Yandex NV, the Dutch registered parent company of the Yandex Group, has reached an agreement to sell its Russian business, including the country's most popular search engine, to a consortium of private investors, according to a statement released by the company on Monday. And well, this sale is about 5.2 billion, and these private investors will hold now control package of Yandex's Russian operations. And this company, by the way, is one of the biggest Russian. It's originated from Russia, and it's one of the biggest Russian IT companies. And it's good to see, by the way, that these Russian companies, these companies that are originated in Russia, are coming back now. Yandex is not the first one. There are many others that are coming back because their CEOs and their leadership are realizing that it's not really safe to stay in the jurisdiction of Brussels, let's say, or Washington. And well, Yandex is kind of lucky that they did manage to close this deal before Brussels froze all Yandex assets in the West, and they can do it at any time. And that's why I believe this trend will definitely continue, and all the companies that have their roots in Russia or mainly are operating in Russia will eventually come back to Russia, to Russian jurisdiction, because their investments will be much more safer here than in the West. And this is, by the way, also a signal or message for rest of the world. And this outflow of businesses and assets of Russia or Russian-related companies from the West will definitely be followed by outlaw, already are followed by outlaw of investments and assets from other countries. And this process cannot be stopped now. Western ruling class basically destroy reputation of their banking and financial systems of the West, judiciary system of the West, and political system of the West. And well, if they cannot be trusted, then well, of course, potential investors or factual investors will try to save their positions and stay away from collective West, and to remove all the assets or majority of the assets that they have in Western economies. It's just logical, isn't it? It's pure business move to save your assets. Artists report that thousands of Canadian businesses could go bankrupt, according to report. So thousands of small businesses in Canada face a risk of closing down after the government ended pandemic era support last month, and as interest rates are at 2-decade high, according to Reuters report. So what is happening is that well, there is a surge, by the way, of bankruptcies in Canada, which jumped 38% in just the first 11 months of the 2023. Final numbers probably are even higher for previous year. And what is happening is that small businesses received, especially small businesses, as I understand, received government loans during the pandemic era. And now they have to pay back this money, and many of them are unable to do so because the economy, I guess, didn't recover yet. And those small business owners are forced to take a loan from bank to repay this government's loan. And banks have high percentage points now. And many companies basically are forced into the bankruptcy. So, well, I don't know what is the solution in this case. Maybe Canadian government will delay payments from these companies, those loans to be paid back. Maybe there will be some other solutions, but well, it's always unfortunate that this kind of stuff is happening, because first of all, it hurts ordinary people like us, and it's small businesses. Corporations, of course, don't really care about percentage rate of banks that much, but for small businesses, even 1% increase is a big deal. And nowadays, banks are giving credits just about everywhere on the high percentage rate. It's not just Canada, but same stuff is here, by the way, in Russia, and I guess in European states, in EU member states also, same is happening. So, well, unfortunate news, by the way, unfortunate news from Canada. But let's hope small businesses will manage to deal with the issues. And this is it for now. I hope you will find this update interesting, and if so, please, interesting and informative, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on any of the platforms that you are active on. And if you find this channel, this project with several channels and several programs interesting, useful, informative, and one that deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links on this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.